we'll do a walk around the truck. But so for anybody that doesn't know, this is Doug Paddock of Paddock Imports, of Defco Trucks, of
HPL Distributing, Overkill Race Cars. We have a couple of things going on.
Got a lot of stuff going on here in their little compound area here. They got right in front of us is, what would you say? That's a Paddock Imports kind of.
Yep.
What's your specialty there?
We specialize in European imports, primarily BMW, Porsche, Mercedes, Audi, Volkswagen. That's the lion's share of. That's where I started in the industry. And at 14, I was working in a BMW shop, and I gravitated up through, and I worked for a couple of manufacturers on the corporate level, and decided that wasn't my direction of travel, and came back home to Denver, and it was went to work for Coors for a while. Worked for Earl Davis. I know he remembers Earl Davis. My father passed away in an effort to help my mom with my dad's firm come back. I mean, you know, he passed away unexpectedly, so it's one of those things that brought me back to Colorado. We started this business basically genesis this business in 1989.
Wow.
And
year I was born.
Don't date me. From there, we did a couple different things, but this business started back over in 06. I was left for dead by two partners with a business partnership that we had that didn't work out well. I don't make a good employee.
Sure.
So we started back over, and we grew from one employee and one hoist to now we have 16 employees and a 15,000 square foot facility in front, and the back shop, which was the Skunk Works forever, is now 10,000 square feet, and it's being converted into race car fabrication and building trucks.
Yep. So if you guys haven't seen it, you had a pretty crazy little video that you
Yeah.
made. I've posted on the page a few times, or if you guys go to Defco Trucks on their Instagram or Facebook or whatever, YouTube, there's some videos on there explaining or showing what they did. This truck right here behind me, it's a 2018?
It's a 17.
17. So 17, 18.
Yep, 18 and 17 and newer we do, 250s and 350s.
So they do a conversion on the trucks that it's really big. It makes a stock truck look little. It makes big trucks look little. It's pretty crazy. What's this one look like compared to your other truck that you built?
The gray and blue one? It's actually 1 inch shorter. It's 4 inches narrower. It does not use a large tire.
Okay.
It uses the blue and gray truck, the Mega Raptor, uses a 46-inch tall tire. These use a 43. The biggest difference is these 43s are a tire that was built by Continental for Mercedes-Benz for the Unimogs, which is, if anybody doesn't know what a Unimog is, it's an extremely expensive truck.
Okay.
And they basically, I believe Mercedes-Benz put almost $50 million in just in development of this tire. So big tired trucks, if everybody's had either ridden in a lifted truck or driven a lifted truck, they drive like shit, excuse my French, but they do. And they're horrible, and you can't do anything with them, and they're clunky, and they're weird to drive. And we've all had big trucks, and I wanted a big truck, but I wanted to have something that was usable. And these trucks have all full capability of what a stock F350 or 250 would have towing.
Sure.
The payload's the same. It still retains the factory bed rail, so you could run a camper if you want. We're working with a local company to build actually a very unique pop-up camper for expeditionary use, which is a huge and growing trend. That's absolutely it's a sleeper. Nobody would ever guess it. But when you pay $500,000 for a Earth Roamer, I think you can.
Those things are crazy because they're just up north here.
They
right?
are just up north.
Yeah, you see them parked off the side of the road, and they're
massive.
Yeah, they look like they'd be hard to drive around, but
they're big. But so our biggest deal is to have a big functional truck that actually works.
You can actually go beat on and jump, and if you feel like jumping it, I guess.
Yeah, if you so desire.
So the jump that you did with the truck was what? How far?
Well,
How big?
I thought we were going to jump approximately 45 to 50 feet, and that's what we marked off. We ended up, depending upon whose foot, we thought at one time it was 102 feet, but when we were all said and done, it ended up being 92 feet. And judging by the drone footage where the drone was sitting, we were probably, bottom of the tire was probably 14 feet off the ground.
Wow.
Yeah. A little too much.
Little came in a little hot. Sent it a little too much.
Yeah, I didn't want to short it. And I kept telling Lance it was getting cold, and we knew the jump was short. We knew it was lippy, but I was like, what the heck? If I speed up, I think I can get past it. And it survived. It just was a hell of a ride. And but
there's some videos out there where Doug walks around the truck, kind of explains what went wrong, but I guess we could go over like kind of what it didn't total the truck. It didn't. I mean, it's still good.
Yeah. It's funny because James walked around the truck and everybody's like, oh, the frame's cracked. Man, everybody's welcome to look at it all they want. Other than some body damage and then some other stuff, some improvements, and we've been so busy with everything else and building new trucks, we haven't finished this one, which is, these guys are killing it. I'm the mouthpiece, but these dudes are killing it. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of fab work, a lot of custom pieces, parts that you guys, like you're talking about, you went into SolidWorks and rendered it and kind of did all that to design it, I guess, right?
Yeah, there's a whole story of the progression of this truck, and I've kind of gone over it, and we can do that now if you want, but it's a cool story. So the Mega Raptors just weren't going the direction of travel we wanted. We wanted improvements, and the designer and owner of the company, it kind of fell on deaf ears, and we just wanted to improve. At the end of December last year, I bought this truck, and I'm going to get a little weepy. This is my mom's favorite color.
Oh.
My mom died the 9th of January this year, or last year, and I told her she loved all my exploits, my stupid shit. I brought her home to home hospice in this truck.
Oh.
So I'm done. So anyways, but these trucks are amazing. The new 17, 18 Fords, they're completely redesigned. The frames are amazing. They're spaceships. To drive them is incredible. And the motor, they make power. And there's brand loyalties across the board, and I get it. And everybody's a Dodge guy or a Chevy guy or a Ford guy, and I love all of it. I think in the end, if I can appreciate anything that somebody's put time and effort in and has personal stuff. That's why I bond so well with the import guys that we drag race with, like Max and I mean, you can just those guys. They kick ass and they work hard and they understand that they have literally it is absolutely an uphill battle. So I appreciate anybody's going to take the time to build something and put effort into it.
Right.
With that being said, we wanted to build this truck on a great platform, and I told Lance, who was working for me, it was just me and him, and Justin would work part-time between the race car fab shop and the truck shop. I'm like, man, there's something here. We can really do something. He was like, let's do it. I said, okay, let's put our shoulders behind it. Set forth, talked to a bunch of suspension companies. We told them that we wanted at least 12 inches of travel in the front and 15 inches of travel in the rear and still be able to tow. And everybody just told us to go kick rocks. Finally found a guy. By total happenstance, we found our fiberglass people who were Advanced Fiberglass in Costa Mesa. We gave them an idea of what we wanted the truck to look like. Cool. They came with the rendering. We refined it a little bit, and they built this from scratch.
Wow.
This truck is 100% the first mold. This is actually the first molds that came off the truck was this. And we gave them this truck to build it from. So they built the truck, fiberglass-wise. We took it. It took 7 months for that.
Holy cow!
Yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot to it, and to be a hand-laid glass, there's a lot of different fiberglass. This glass is all. Everything in these trucks are made in America, with the exception of the tires. Everything is U.S. made, from the wheels that are made in Missouri by Weld. King Shocks, obviously in California. Lewis built. So that brings us to Lewis built. So Chris Lewis, Lewis built. I was cruising Instagram and I saw this really cool picture of a lower arm on one of these, and it had Heavy D from Diesel Brothers, from Sparks Motors. He had sent a set to Chris, had sent a set to Heavy D, and he showed a picture, and they were awesome. It was exactly what we were talking about. And I called him up just out of the blue and told him what I wanted to do, and he didn't hang up the phone on me. He was like, okay, cool.
You're doing something kind of different.
Yeah, so kind of different. And the week later, we drove out to the fiberglass to get final revisions, and we just showed up in Chris's shop just out of the blue. Literally, I mean, and it was a Friday afternoon, and it was beer 30, and he was like freaked out that we walked through the door. He's like, man, everybody, like pulls your leg or calls you and bullshits you and said they're gonna do this and this. He goes, you're here, and I'm like, we're here, man.
Yeah, we're ready to do something.
Yeah, so we told him what we wanted to do, and we kind of confirmed and spitballed, and we left. And both Lance and I had a really good vibe about him. The guy's a super great guy, hardworking, smart as shit, kind of a diamond in the rough for sure. Yeah. And by the time we had got to Barstow, he had texted me 2 pictures that he had drawn up in SolidWorks with ideas, and his brain was just going. And you know, not to get on a segue, but probably one of my greatest talents, I'm very lucky, but one of my greatest talents is the ability to find something in someone that they don't know exists and extrapolate that and make that for the better. And to see something and go, we can do this, and just keep
trying to help push, yeah.
And they just need a little bit of guidance. And that's, my father did that, and he taught me to do it, and it works. So here we are at Chris, and we tell him what we want to do, and we're back and forth, and we sign an agreement to where, okay, we're going to build a cantilever design. It's our design. It's his design under our license. Everything on this truck is copyrighted, patented,
wow,
or trademarked. Everything.
It's super cool. We'll show you guys here in a little bit how the suspension lays down.
It's cool.
It's different.
It's different. So it's so anyway. So Chris goes there, and we tell him what's going on, and he gets me involved. Gets me connected with Kellen Meadows from NV Motorsports, and NV Motorsports is, I believe, it's one of King's biggest wholesale outlets. And he also does raceline wheels and stuff. And he's just a super cool guy. And he took my call right out of the bat. And I told him what I wanted to do. And he didn't hang up the phone on me either. He's like, this is cool. This is badass. So at that point, we told him what we want to do. And he got everything ordered. And with big companies like King, there's a lot of moving parts. And in order to make stuff happen, sometimes you need somebody like him to facilitate. And Kellen has been instrumental in this truck, and he's been awesome with putting us together with people. He got us together with Fernando Gutierrez from Atlas Spring, and Atlas built these springs, the leaf springs for these trucks. That's actually a big, it's not really a secret. There are springs now, and nobody can build them, and he's made sure of that. But there's proprietary design in there that makes these work, and there's so much little stuff in these trucks that you'll never see, but only appreciate when you drive or jump or
right that it's the whole deal, not just it's
a package, man. So here we are in a situation where I get all these guys together and all these parts are coming together. We pick the truck up from the fiberglass shop, and we're at Chris's shop, and we literally move into Chris's shop for 6 days. It was like Gilligan's Island. Wow. We showed up, we left 6 days later with a completed truck. 20 hours a day if we slept at all. The very last night, it's a funny story. We were absolutely in the worst hotel on the planet in Hemet, California. It's a Motel 6. I thought we were going to get shot, but we ended up spending the last night at Chris's shop. Lance was sleeping in the bed of the truck. Mike, the appraiser, was sleeping in our tow rig, and I slept in the back seat of this truck. And Chris went home. But we worked all night until we couldn't work anymore, and we just got back up and finished it. But the whole truck was built suspension-wise. Now everything was drawn up in SolidWorks, and a bunch of stuff was waiting for us. But we built this truck by hand in 6 days in an effort to get it done with SEMA.
Oh, okay.
We had some obligations with SEMA, and they wanted us to do some stuff to remove some suspension, some wheels, to be at certain booths. And they were last minutes, because there's always at SEMA, if anybody's been around SEMA long enough, there's always last-minute dropouts.
Oh,
so they wanted us to do a different wheel. One company wanted us to put a different wheel to put in a very large booth. I had no desire to do that. Weld's been with us from the beginning.
Right.
We work with Raceline as well. But with that being said, I wasn't going to make the move, and I wasn't going to compromise that. So at that point, we stopped, called off the Army because we were going to paint it. We were going to do the bodywork, paint it, finish it in 4 days. Steve Dorr was going to do it all. He was going to work 4
Try to get it all slammed
done
together.
It was going to be a SEMA thrash. I was like, let's just throw in the towel. Let's just focus on the vehicle. Let's focus on finishing the product and being there. So that took another approximately 3 weeks before we got the truck done, where we were able to debut it at the Toys for Tots for the Rocky Mountain Diesel Crew, and they've been great as well. But this whole truck has been a culmination of this. But the whole end game was to be able to sell these.
Right.
And not, everybody thinks that they're just a one-off truck that somebody builds, and that's great, and I take that as a huge compliment that we would take.
Probably would have built it to do something like that anyway, but that's not the whole plan.
No, it's not. I told Lance, if this thing goes to crap, we're gonna have some really badass, a couple badass trucks.
Sure.
And they're going to be really expensive, because this one, we have about
all the R&D work into them.
We got about $400,000 bringing this thing to market.
That's crazy.
But there's a lot to it, so there's a lot of moving parts, and it's you have to take the time to do this and to understand that if you don't do something like this, you're not going to have something like this, and it's nothing risked, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So,
if you guys would please share it right by where you guys are commenting. I appreciate the comments. I need to pull it up and see if you guys got any questions too. But please share it, get it around for us. We'd appreciate that. So you did that, you got it debuted, and then you've been playing with it
Yeah, we got it together. Been driving it a bunch. We put about
How many miles does the truck have on it total?
it had 1,000 miles on it when we drove 1,200 miles on it, and now has 8,000. Yeah, so about 6,500 miles on it since
On
we
the kit?
Yeah, since we've been driving it. So we're trying to mile it up and figure out what works, what doesn't. And I'll be honest with you, I built a fair amount of cars. Anybody that knows me knows that I put a couple cars together in street cars, and there's always something big. And we've yet to have something big on this truck. It's been pretty thought out. There's all some annoyances and some stuff you want to refine. But it's been pretty amazing, the fact that nothing's.
Yeah, you haven't completely had to redesign something or change
No.
something or.
Our biggest thing you fight with is going from the metric lines to the AN lines, the brake lines, because it is a metric line and it's a sleeve line. So we've got that figured out through a company in California. But the neat thing with these is, like any other build, and anybody that builds something, you have a group of friends or counterparts or whatever, but the friends that you make to get to this point, and the relationships and the roads that you travel, and you laugh and you sweat and you cry and you can't sleep, and it's just. But the coolest thing on this road for us is the ability to build an incredible truck that's available for the general public. They're not cheap, but they're not crazy money.
So that was a question. I kind of know part of this answer. It says, what's the kit price? But you don't get a kit.
No.
You don't get order a whole bunch of fiberglass and suspension parts and it shows up at your house and you put it together. You guys have to do it.
Right.
Here.
So contrary to what the industry has been doing for the past 30 years, is that you buy your suspension from one place and you buy your fiberglass from another place and you essentially assemble the truck. Well, that limits a couple people. That builds a really cool truck sometimes, but it doesn't allow the general public or the guy that doesn't have that fabrication skills or doesn't have a fabrication shop or a shop to assemble it, doesn't give them the ability to do that. So what this does is this gives a turnkey deal.
Right.
So, there's a lot to it, but the bottom, where we're at with these trucks is that we want to get somebody in a truck, a very, very nice brand new 2018 XLT Premium with our conversion for under $100,000.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and then that gets you the Stage 1, which is a very nice truck, and it looks just like this one. And then you can go to the Stage 2, which is what this truck is, and that's $69,950. So basically
over and beyond.
So you have the base truck, which is $70,000. So about $140,000 gets you this truck.
So I guess visual kind of Stage 1, and then Stage 2 is what, like the shocks are better, wheels and tires, or kind of what's the.
So the visual. So Stage 1 gets you the truck you basically see. So it comes with the wheels, tires, the body, paint and body. We paint the entire truck. The bumpers, the suspension is a little bit different. It uses King components. Sure. Uses 2.5-inch front steering stabilizers as well as a 3-inch King OEM coilover, and then of our valving, and then a rear King shock double adjustable. So it's like a really, 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 really cool lifted, capable truck that still tows.
Sure.
So
there's guys easily going to have that into their truck that's not near as capable if they just go buy a new truck and throw a big lift and crazy tires, but never really go through the whole.
Right. When you put everything up and you put a pad to paper and you add everything up you would do to bring something like this to fruition for an average person, you're typically at between $50,000 and $60,000 all in with the suspension and wheels, tires, and the components thereof. So it's not that out of the ordinary. Just when it just seems like a big number. And here's the deal: they're not for everybody, and I get that. But at the same time, if you want it, we'll build it.
Yeah, and I'm sure if there's something a little different they wanted, you'd probably do some.
We've been pretty
a couple
accommodating.
Little different things.
Well, there is one more stage above the Stage 2, and it's the LTFO. Look out, and the red truck will be an LTFO. We're building an LTFO for a really cool guy that we met 2 weeks ago, and he happens to be overseas. It's I'm not at liberty to say because it's not my place, but to tell you that this truck is going to be absolutely the coolest thing ever. It would be like if I could build something then I didn't have a budget.
Right.
At all.
Somebody says, just build me the coolest thing you can do and go.
Please. And it's been great. And it's been awesome, and he's been super kind and generous, and so we're lucky there. And we have a couple of other people that have a couple local pro athletes that we're working with to build.
I forget you're in Denver, so.
Yeah. So we're in Denver, and then we have a gentleman in Miami who requested one, and we have another one for a local Ford dealer that's going to build and sell. That's going to be a selling dealer. We also have 2 more for a very interesting project that I am not at liberty to speak about, but it's really cool. And for anybody that's a camper or an outdoor enthusiast, I think they're going to flip when they see this because there's nothing like it. So
right.
There's a lot of opportunities for us, and this market space for us here. It doesn't exist. We made it.
Right. No, and I guess that's kind of the cool thing is there's not another one of those unless you guys have built it or going to build it or whatever. They got to come to you to get something like that.
Right. It's our whole point was we wanted to do something different enough to where it wasn't like a standard truck that lifted truck, because I'm not a big lifted truck guy. I'm not a guy, and nothing wrong with it, but I'm not a guy that's going to put a 24 by 14 rim on my, and have that's just not my style. It's for some people it's great, but I want to be able to use it. And every truck I've ever owned, I've tried to have pretty nice trucks, has always been practical to a certain extent. Big trucks are. This is probably arguably the most practical truck I've ever owned, and it's the biggest truck I've ever owned.
What do you think about driving them around? I know, like the Mega Raptor, that thing, I just randomly, you guys passed me, it's probably you driving it or whatever, I was up here in Denver, something else, I was like, holy, that thing is big, it takes up the whole lane, and people see it coming. And
they do, and technically that truck is a little wider than DOT regulations, and that was one of my arguments.
Oh, okay.
So
why you kind of shorten this one?
So with that being said, these trucks drive like a passenger truck. They drive absolutely better than my Platinum. I have a Platinum shop truck.
Okay.
With the stage, and we did our best to do that. The tires are big, and they have a super heavy sidewall because of what the load rating is. But there's a technique to balancing them and trimming them to make them function and ride smooth and no harmonics. Lifted trucks are notorious for bump steer. The lifted trucks are notorious. There's minimal bump steer. There's less than 3/4 of an inch of bump steer in this entire travel of the suspension from droop or from incomplete extension. So with that being said, I mean, you can drive them literally every day. Both my kids have driven this truck. God bless Alexis. She could barely see over the steering wheel, but she drove it. Hi, Lex, if you're listening. But they're very functional trucks, and I wanted to make it to where, yes, can you make it through a drive-through? Absolutely, and I've done it. Do you want to go through a bank drive-through? No, I would not do that. No. They're 7'2", so they fit in most people's garages. They're 7'4" is the standard for downtown parking garages here. Yeah, for construction vans and stuff. So there was a reason why we put it this height. It also has extremely low center of gravity. This thing handles and rides. They don't drive like a big lifted truck. You can take a corner at 60 miles an hour.
Don't feel like it's going to roll right over.
Absolutely not. And that's a testament to Chris's suspension and to the King shocks and a wider track. So the track of the vehicle is 14 inches wider than factory.
Wow.
The actual truck itself is 18 inches wider than factory. So it's 3 inches narrower than a dually. So the standard.
Okay, so that's not.
No. So it's so
just the whole truck's a little bit bigger,
She's
not
big,
just the back.
She's big, but she doesn't drive big. But if the mirror's clear, you clear. So.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. So it's hard to tell, even when you see the pictures and them jumping and stuff. I think that's something that makes the jump. I mean, the jump looks big, but it's even bigger once you realize how big the truck actually is too. So it's a really cool piece. I wanted to get up here because the video did kind of go, I guess you could say viral. How many views did you say you kind of got through all that deal?
We started, the best guess we have, because it was shared and we didn't have it on YouTube. There's an analytics program that has over 30 million views, and I think it was shared 47,000 times throughout. We purposely did what we did with the jump halfway. We stopped it halfway. Right. So we got up and we're like, Defco trucks jumping into 2018, and we just stopped it. And it's just like going to a NASCAR race or anything else. Everybody's looks for the crash, right? We're gonna watch us yard sale it and crash it. So we put it out, and we just stopped it there. And man, the Facebook Nazis killed me. I was on a Raptor forum, and they wanted me crucified. They wanted my head. Oh, you can't. You're being dishonest. You're not showing this and that.
It was
we were
a
like,
little teaser, was it? Not that you weren't going to show it all.
And it was Lexus's idea, and Lance was the same way. He's like, leave it for 24 hours, and we left everybody hanging. And there was about a half a dozen people knew that the truck didn't wad up and crash, and everybody wanted the rest. And I cannot tell you how many text messages I fended off and messages there. Nope, not going to show you, not going to show you. And about an hour before we posted it, I dropped it to all my friends, and they're like, "Dude, that's it?"
Right, yeah.
You know, so we did learn a lot. We nosed it in, and we did push the bumper into the fender, which caused the bumper or the fender to pop off the body mount, but it didn't break the fiberglass. Fiberglass is still the glass. It's
just some R&D, just learning what it can do or can't do or whatever it can do. So
yeah.
So did you make any real changes from that? Like what you learned from it, or?
What we learned, one is that we need a longer ramp, which we
the ramp
before,
is
right. It was getting
all
cold.
Against you at that point.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we were up against the wall there. We put ballast in the back. We needed to put more ballast in the back to equal it out because of what it is. If we jump to, I'm not going to jump to a flat again. We're going to jump to another from ramp to ramp for our next deal, which is going to be kind of cool. But that slow it down a little bit. We do need to work on the shocks and the spring rates. That was something we planned to do 2 weeks ago in California. We just ran out of time. And this was a last minute deal, and it literally, I was like, oh, what the heck, we'll just jump. And I figured if we jumped like 30, 40 feet, it would be great.
Yeah.
And, I was talking to Lance, and he's like, I'd hit it at 50. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't want to short it. So I'm like, I'll hit it at 60. Well, I got there, and I hit it at 70. So it
was a downhill. You got a little extra speed going or something.
Well, I just didn't want to short it. That was my biggest deal, and I didn't want, and
make it one and done.
Yeah, we got one and done. Everybody's like, well, how were the other jumps before? I'm like, well,
that's honestly what I was going to ask you. Is that did you take
one
at 30, one at 50, one at 70?
No, it was getting cold. We just did it. We went with it. We do have some. It's kind of funny. We have some footage of it jumping off a loading dock and stuff, and it's like.
Compared to that, yeah.
So, but it's what it is, and it's fun and it's cool, and it was an amazing way to bring. Everybody was slaughtering us about this, and I don't know what an internet campaign costs to put yourself on just about every vehicle feed in as a company in for 4 days straight. We broke the internet.
Right.
I mean, we really did, and I'm bragging for a second because I really don't care at that point. We did it. I had no idea. We got some geese coming by.
Yeah.
We did it with an intent not to go to that level, but we did. And when we stopped it halfway through and just let everybody hanging, I got a text message from Martin Barkey at MBRP, who's been a great contributor to the program. He's like, "Is it okay?" And I'm like, "It's okay." And he's like, "Cool, I'll wait for the video." And then we did it. And he's like, "Buddy," he's like, "we pay a lot of money for marketing campaigns that don't net a tenth of this response." He goes, "Well done." And that goes to Lance and to Lex because they were the ones that wanted to post half the video. We got a broken intercooler, some body work, some shop time, some paint work. I think all in were like $3,000 is what shop total and labor. I don't know of
that many views you could buy for.
No, and it's sold. We've sold 5 trucks because of it, and you know what?
So those orders have came in since that video.
Absolutely,
and people
and tons of
understanding what it
inquiries.
is.
We take two series inquiries a day, and the way I look at it is I'll spend as much time as I can, or somebody wants to, about explaining the project and what we did, because the truck sells itself. But until you know the backstory and the fact that it's not just some lifted truck with a body kit, you understand what it is, and you have an idea of where everything goes and where the time and money is spent and where it is. And I understand if you can't justify it, totally get it. But if you can and you understand where we're going, and anybody that's built something like that, I mean, shoot, you've done it, you've been around your dad, you understand what it takes to bring something to fruition. And
more than you ever expect.
Well, our standard line here is the last 10% takes 90% of the time and 90% of the money. Greg's over here bobbing his head up and down, and it did. And you just keep going and you keep feeding it. And all the time that we were doing this, from the time we left California till the time this truck was finished, and Chris and his wife came out to help finish the truck to debut it. I mean, it was really emotional. It was pretty cool to see it come to come together, but. It's one of those things where if you don't understand what it's a part and what goes to building it, you can't justify the price, and I get it. But business is brisk. It's been good, and man, we're having fun doing it.
That's the thing. I guess you're building some, like the import stuff and all that. That's good consistent, but this is play. This is...
Yeah, I'm to the point in my life to where the shop is successful, and I feel very blessed, and I have great employees. 2 weeks ago, the Tuesday we came back, and we started getting a fair amount of traction with it. Aaron Trail and Billy Lindauer, who were my front guys, I got fired. They kicked me out of the front. They're like, go sell trucks. We got this.
Right.
And they know that this has been a passion and how hard we've tried to do this, and they understand it.
Yeah, it's starting to come around now.
Yeah, it's, you're trying to, you're enjoying the fruits of your labor and trying to see it out. And, we're an ESOP, so everything that we do is employee driven.
Sure.
So every person here has a stake in the game, and they see a bigger picture, and they understand when they do something, they do it for themselves, for the company, and for the client. And I don't need to get rich building trucks. I don't need to get rich fixing imports. I don't need to get rich selling oil. That's not my deal. We're comfortable. We do well. I just want to build really, really cool stuff, and to be able to do it with my kids,
right,
and my friends.
Sure. It's all the fun stuff that comes along with it. So
yeah, it's the stuff it's people don't understand that it's, a lot of people don't, and some people do. Is you would kill to be able to do stuff with your dad like you do, and I would give anything to be able to do something with my dad. So instead I do it with my kids,
right,
and I do it with Lance, and it's cool.
You got a lot of people around here, always have, as far as racing and all that kind of flock to it, I guess.
Yeah.
Always come to take part in what you're doing, or, I mean, we'll get into some more of that, of what he's done racing-wise and all that too, but just kind of all the people that know you because of that truck, or know you because of that race car that's sitting over there, or just all the different things you've done. So I guess you're not always doing it for, like you said, if not, you're going to end up with a couple cool trucks or whatever. You don't know if you're going to sell a bunch of them.
Yeah, agreed. I'd like to think we are, and I think we're the direction of travel sure looks like it. But at the end of the day, some people might know Willie B's a good friend of mine, and we talk about a lot of pretty heavy stuff, believe it or not.
Get deep.
But yeah, get pretty deep. But one of the things that he said, and we talked about New Year's, we talked about the slices of the pie. And as you're 20, you have 20 slices of the pie, and as you're 40, you have 40 slices, and those slivers get smaller and smaller and smaller, and your memories get thinner and thinner and thinner. And as your days start to go in, you start counting that you might have 30 springs, 30 summers, 30 winters, 30 falls. So start thinking about that.
Sure.
It seems kind of weird, but enjoy yourself, have fun, go do something. Take a chance, man. I'll tell anybody, if you want to get in the automobile business, man, there's so much money there. If you're good, you will do very well. Take a chance. It's not, you can't email a car, but and you can't Instagram a car. But if you want to work with your hands and you want to be in the trades, there's nothing better, and it's a great, honest way. People talk about dirty hands, clean money. That's something that's missing, but I'm lucky enough to see that come to fruition, where I've hustled and busted my ass, and a lot of people think that I had a silver spoon in my mouth. Let me tell you something, guys. 13 years ago, I started a business with $144 in my pocket, and we built it to this. Had some help from my mom and some other people, and I feel very, very blessed. But at the same time, we started back over with my new wife Michelle at the time, and we started and built it up, and it was with great people that did that, and we it wasn't just me by any means, and that's the the sum is greater than, or the parts are greater than the sum. But I feel that if you're able to do something that you love, you don't work.
Sure.
Just come and have fun and bust your ass, and sure, it's stressful, and if you own a business, and as your father is, as Greg has, and most of my friends, there's payroll, there's insurance, there's clients, there's employee problems. I mean, if you feel like the line is, maybe if you remember the TV show or the television or the movie Major League, they're talking about all the stuff they got to do, and they got to sacrifice a chicken for somebody, and they got to do this and do that. It's what it takes to make the day run, and
right.
You laugh about it, but that's what it takes. So at the end, if you can add that all up and be able to go do something cool, whether you're one guy and you have a business, or you have 200 people, go do it. I tell everybody, just jump. There's a great Steve Harvey. There's a great video on YouTube. If you guys follow Steve Harvey, it's called Jump, and I highly recommend anybody watch that feels like they need to go do something. It's a little religious, and that's great, but at the same time, if you watch it, I don't know, have you ever seen it?
No.
You need to see it.
Yeah.
Somebody like you
I'll
will be
watch
greatly motivated by it. But
sure.
it's like, dude, water's fine. Just freaking jump. Do it. Try.
You only get one chance at it.
What are you going to do? What's the worst thing that happens?
Right. No,
you can make more
absolutely.
money. You can fall. You can skin your knees. It's okay. Trust me. Everybody sees what everybody does on social media. They always see the successes or the potential successes or the major fails.
Or the
they
fails,
don't,
yeah.
You know, they don't see the difference, and the difference is getting up every day and going to work and busting your ass and staying late and thinking about this and thinking about that. I never leave work.
Right. Yeah, you live it every day.
Yeah. And it's fun though,
Sure.
so you might as well do what you're gonna do, but just do it, man. There's not enough small businesses out there, and there's not enough people. Use Jim Hull as an example. Jim Hull is a one-man band.
One man.
That effing kills it, and the dude, I love him to pieces, and the guy works his ass off, and he builds really, really cool stuff. That's one man. And then you have somebody like Mikey Cecina. Mikey Cecina, I mean, he's got a ton of employees, and dude, that guy, I see him driving trucks. I see him hauling stuff. I see him dragging stuff. He has a newborn baby boy. That guy works every day. Joe Barry. I mean, these guys are all guys that are friends of mine that I feel very honored to have as friends, but I look up to them.
Right.
Joe Barry's a hero of mine. You know, Mikey busts that. Those guys kill it. You know, and Jim, I mean, the guy comes and he looks like Swamp Thing when he gets done, and you know, and he just keeps going back.
He does, yeah.
And these guys care. Chris Lewis is a great. You know, Chris Lewis. This guy is just was a two-man band, and John Man and Bumper Bobby. These guys are like building stuff in California and Advanced Fiberglass. These guys are all, you know, what I like the coolest thing about something like this is we're supporting families. We're supporting softball teams. We're supporting gymnastics. We're supporting, you know, when you have employees and it grows, it becomes communal, and that's the stuff that people are missing, and that's what's the cool part of doing stuff like that. I mean, I love that. It's just kick ass. It's,
just the community around what you've kind of built and the people you're around.
And you know, and the friends you make and the people you live, you know, and the haters you earn and the haters you don't. You know, it's fun.
That's what I think. If you're not, like you said, with the jump or with business or whatever, if somebody's not sad at what you're doing, or you don't have some haters in there somewhere, you're not doing something different. So.
Oh yeah, and I've earned a fair amount of them, and I'm okay with that. I'll take ownership of it. Some I picked and I've won, and some I've come upon them honestly. But yes, you're right. Haters get you there, and they don't realize it, but it's fuel, man. Just keep going. It's fuel. I don't care, and just you know, and they won't fade you. And it's like you get it, or your dad, or and I use that because it's a great analogy. Is if everybody loved you and you were to love everybody else, you'd marry your neighbor. You know, you would never leave your block. Everything would be fine. You wouldn't have any reason to grow and to want to have
everybody
better.
be the same person.
Yeah, we're definitely not.
No. So I guess where I've kind of met Doug, or kind of known Doug's through my dad and some of the racing, and that was all before all the truck stuff really came about. And so we'll talk about some of that. I mean, you've done, from what I know, I guess, was the Firebird a 10.5 car? Or
it was actually a 275 car.
275 car.
My very first car, I'll kind of give them around. My very first cool car was a 66 Nova. It was lemon wood yellow, had a bench seat. Went 1090s on the motor, and fastest we went, I think, was 882 here on the spray back in 99, Greg? Yeah, 99.
So that's kind of the beginning of all the streetcar stuff, early 90s?
Yeah, we traveled to California and raced Denny Savage's deal, and we raced some NSCA stuff in Bowling Green, and it was a super cool car. And in 01, it was it was parked at a Sonic, and a drunk driver had fallen asleep at the top of the hill and basically jumped the highway or the road and landed on top of my car and totaled it. And started back over, and I bought a 89 Mustang and put the small block Chevy 18-degree motor in that. And Paul Kleisik and I raced that for a number of years and did pretty well. Went through a divorce and kind of sold everything and was going to just write off racing. And racing, motorsports is kind of like the mob. Just when you think you're out, they drag you back in, right?
Yeah.
And
something cool new happens or whatever.
So we start the shop, and I start back over, and things start to turn around, and wanted to build a 66 Nova again, and that kind of fell on on deaf ears, started to get going on that, and it kind of fell. And I wanted an F body, and at the time, PSCA rules were really slighted towards Fords. And I was lucky enough to have Josh Lindsay from Dallas, Texas, turn me on to a small block Ford that Grant McCreary and him ran. That was an absolute beast. Bought that, had Paul rework some of that, and had Justin, that's how I met Justin Kill from Overkill Race Cars, build me this car. And I told him that I wanted this to be a car for the ages. I wanted it to be something that was like nothing else.
Right.
So we set forth, and Justin built a beautiful car for me, and we crusty painted it, and had 2 ounces of 22 carat gold leaf on it, real gold.
Go all out on it.
Yeah, it had Alcantara suede interior throughout, and the headliner. I mean, it was totally over the top. And in radial racing, as often the case, it's trial by fire, and we learned very quickly that a radial doesn't like certain tracks. And we were at Streetcar Supernats 5 years ago. Drove over some water that was left, and it lawn darted into the wall and totaled the car. It was a super sad day, but at the same time, it is what it is. It's racing, and it's the end of it.
You know, when you strap in, that's always a chance.
And that kind of prepares you for business and for life and otherwise. Is that it sounds crazy, but in an instant it can be gone. But you can, as long as you walk away, you can start back over. And there's and I always say, what we lose in the fire, we gain in the ashes, and we find it. So with that, we wadded that car up. We bought a car from it's actually here. It's Dave Jensen owns it now. But we called it Burning because it was built by a guy named Ronnie Duke, who was caught up in the mortgage scandals in the late 2000s, and that was the first LS that was in the 7s. It was built by Wheel to Wheel with the GM Motorhouse, and we probably put a Ford in it because we could. It had a 9.5 deck DeSalma motor on it. It was a bad, fast son of a bitch. That car is probably one of the best driving small tire cars ever driven. Sold that, and we bought the car from Hellion, that was the purple car. That was a 10.5 car.
Right, that car goes way back.
Yeah, that car goes way back. It was built originally for I can't remember the first guy, but then Billy Glidden had it. Was built originally by Skinny Kids, and then Behind Bars fixed it, and a bunch of people added stuff to it. And it's an old car. It was one of the very first. I think it was the very first New Edge car that was a 10.5 car. It has a VIN, but it didn't even have on the quarter panels that were actually stamped for the 3310.5W, didn't have a gas door. So there's something there. It might have been a Ford factory deal. We're not sure, but that car was history,
Yeah,
we got it from Dwayne, and we kind of made it our own and put smaller wheelhouses on it. And we bought 2 rear Morrison 5.3 4-space turbo motors, which are very oddball combinations. There's 3 of them on the planet. We have 2 of them. It's an incredible combination, and quite frankly, we've only scratched the surface to the power, what they're capable of. Mel, you're not listening because it's slow and it's just a big block Chevy. We'd just like to keep those weights where we're at.
Right.
With that being said, we have that, and we have another project. We have you can walk around. It's sitting over here in a cover, and I'll show you, but I'm not going to show anybody else. We're building a Pro 275 car that is out of this world. It is super cool, and we might get that out this year. We raced the gray car, and we've done pretty good with that. We raced one Streetcar Supernats a couple years ago. Yep. People might say it's luck. I'd say it's luck, absolutely. But
that's half a race.
Yeah, luck doesn't give you 4 sub 40 lights in a row,
right,
and be able to go 236 miles an hour a couple times.
And it's your day. It's your day. And
yeah, we did it. We did it, and that was probably the best day of racing I've ever had. Came back, raced some stuff here, raced some stuff in Texas. We had a grudge race that we did. I wish it would have been a little bit different, but we had a grudge race that was that kind of gained a little bit of popularity.
Yeah, it's crazy what just a little bit of some of those grudge races or whatever's happening, what goes on.
That's about as random as it gets.
Leaving work on a Friday,
I guess
right?
so. That was not a client's car, just for the record. But raced that. We had some problems. Our big stuff drivers kept failing that year, and long story short, we hydrolocked the motor, and I put the intake manifold into the stands, and car caught on
Oh
fire.
yeah,
And
a
that
huge
was
backfire deal.
huge. Put fire in the entire car. I was on fire, physically on fire.
Probably that's, I guess I've never had it. Hope I never do, but that's probably the biggest thing I'm scared of as far as race cars.
You should be.
That goes.
Yeah, you should be. And I was physically on fire for about, I would guess probably between 10 and 15 seconds, which feels like a month.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I had put both 20 pounds on me, and it didn't go out. And the carbon fiber inside the car had caught on fire. Justin's built me a hell of a nice car and safe. But my wife saw me on fire. And that's tough. So we took the rest of the year off. We campaigned our mile car. We have a mile car that's a street car.
Yeah,
it's
we'll
kind
talk
of
about
cool.
that here in a minute.
Yeah. And I've been on fire on that too.
Yeah,
Fire sucks.
yeah.
So the gray car's got me on fire twice. Black car caught me on fire once. So I decided to take a break. Alexis was getting her senior year in school, and T was getting older, and they were living with us full time. Those are my kids. And I just
life was just happening.
Yeah,
sure.
life gets. Sorry guys, I get a little misty about that. I wanted to spend time with the family and grow the business, and some other stuff had happened, and it was time to take a break, and which we did. We still continue to help people race and build cars and tune. And
you're never gone from the track for sure.
It was funny because the last PSCA race that last year was the first time I was at Vandermeer at an event. I take Lex and T had both gone to test and tune, and
literally had pretty much been gone from it.
Yeah, and I showed up, and Larry
Checked
Chris
out.
he's like, "Good to have you back. You're racing anything?" I'm like, "No, I don't have anything." He goes, "How's retirement?" I'm like, "It's okay." He goes, "Can you stand it?" I'm like, "No, we're coming back." And we are. It's fun. It's you can't shake it. It's tough, and you don't realize how cool and important it is, and the people that you see, and the people that you don't normally see, throughout the week or throughout the month.
Your racing family. You have that community at the track that you hang out with.
And you get the racing dads. I mean, there's people, and everybody knows it. There's three people that I think are absolutely three of the best guys in motorsports, Denver motorsports as far as dads. And one was John McClain, who passed away last year, Jay's dad. Miss him. Johnny Kenville, Hook, who's Joey's dad. He's a great guy. And probably my personal favorite is Glenn Bessner, who's Max's dad.
Okay.
And those guys, they always were track dads, and if I did something stupid or did something good, each one of those three guys would come say something. And stuff like that for me means a lot, because they would take time out of the day, and that's part of the community. The Denver racing community and Colorado racing community is pretty cool in that respect. So
Right.
that's part of what keeps us coming back too.
Yeah, so and I guess that's some of the hard part when you're trying to race at a certain level for so long.
Yeah,
The time, the money, the energy,
it is tough. Racing, we've been on a nonstop racing push since 2010, and we haven't stopped. We've been through 4 cars, and you just keep going and you keep pouring. It's like a drug, and you look back and you don't wish you had the money back, but you sure wish you had the time back. And my wife suffered. She became a race widow. And while she supports me and everything, she's married to me for a reason. She likes, despite popular belief, she likes spending time with me.
being around.
So, it's important to incorporate that and have balance. And some wives love to come to the track, and my wife does. And some wives love to be embedded in it, and that's great. My wife doesn't know anything about cars. She says, "Is this good? Is this bad?" I'm like, "No, that's bad. No, that's good." And she just knows. She now knows what the wind light is and what reaction time and stuff, and she's kind of grown. But there's a balance in life, and that's something where you can't chase too hard.
Sure.
If you do, you leave nothing left. And I promised myself I'd never go into debt racing. I would always race with what I had, and to make the next move we were going to do with the cars, it was a situation where I was potentially going to have to go in debt and do some stuff that I didn't want to do.
Right.
Not interested.
The morals kick in, and you try to.
No, you feed the monster, and
Right.
some guys live. Everybody has a budget, right? And sometimes your budget's bigger than others. Sometimes it's smaller, but you keep feeding it, and at the end of the day, it's not. You can't do it, and at the end, it's just a stupid car. Yes, it's friends. It's a stupid car, and you know what? What do they say? Try to impress people that you don't know with money. I don't know the whole thing, but at the end of the day, you got to check it in. So we pulled it back in and took a big breather, and then that happened.
So you never actually out of it. You just changed directions a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully we can make money doing this, but at the same time, the racing's never far. It's not.
Sure.
I'm not far from being involved in it, and the smell of M1 still makes my body tingle, and
yeah, that's a freaky deal. So, like the half mile, or did you half mile the car or just mile it?
We've never half miled the car.
Okay.
It falls on Father's Day, and we always
Sure.
have plans. So we are going to do it this year. I promised myself we were going to do the half mile in the black car. We did the mile.
So what is the black car?
So the black car is a 2012 Mustang. It has a Coyote in it. Coyote is a small block Ford. It started. I bought it from Ryan Rigo. It had a Hellion kit with the MMR 1000 block, short block. Made 1250, which was a lot. We changed some stuff around. Started the car when we first got it. It ran 1080s by the time we were done. We're doing no performance modifications whatsoever, just chassis stuff. We did 9.0s, 903.
Yeah, it was
159.
completely streetable.
Oh yeah,
real drivable.
No, yeah, air conditioning took. I mean, there's a famous picture and video of me taking my dog to Petco to take her to get groomed. So yeah, and it's kind of morphed now. It's got a Jeremiah Hussey built me a crazy ass yo. It's well, I'll tell everybody, the world doesn't care. Made 1795.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
In the car?
Yeah,
Or,
on the wheels.
Wow.
Made 1795 at the wheels.
On methanol.
On M1, no intercooler. It is still streetable. It has fender exits. It's completely out of control and stupid. But yeah, you can drive it. It's the car's dumb. It doesn't need it. It is terrifying to drive on the street. Just because even with the boost controller, it wants to knock the tires off at any given point. I will tell you that on C470, hypothetically, on
Allegedly
in South Mexico, GPS verified, and I would take it to my grave. It's been 268. Yeah, that was
That's
268
insane.
passing 2 GTRs, and if you're watching, you know exactly who you guys are. And I swear, and Justin was sitting shotgun, and I would never do it again, and I wouldn't tell anybody to do it. But holy shit, was that fast?
Yeah, that's insane. So how fast did it? Different combo than when you were in the mile, when you ran the mile?
Yeah, the mile it had the stock block stuff in it. It went 215 was a 215.4, and then unfortunately the valve covers caught on fire because of their plastic and where the turbos are routed. It didn't make for a good combination. I mean, you live and learn. Car melted, but our fastest was 215, which, to the best of my knowledge, at that time it was the fastest street-driven car at the Colorado Mile. Scuba Steve with his
Sure.
GTR was 215. I think it was 215.1.
Oh wow, so
I
it was
got
super
you. But with that, we progressed and we wanted to do the Texas Mile stuff, and we will do 250 in the car. The car's ready to go. It's sitting over here. We could charge the battery, fire it up, take it around the block. It's ready to go, complete. We did the streetcar takeover stuff, and that was a complete flop because of a stupid deal. But that's me. I owned it.
Doing the roll racing portion.
Yeah,
of it, right?
yeah. We won the roll race 2 years ago, which was pretty fun, and we decided to come back and try it again, and flopped horribly.
What do you think about drag racing, half mile racing, roll racing at the track? Like, what do you enjoy? Like, I mean, I guess it's all fun.
They're all fun. It's different. So there's nothing quite like going through the traps at 240 mile an hour.
Sure.
And it happens so quick, and you do have to think, but you don't think. The roll racing is different because it's kind of like getting on an entry ramp and hauling. It's fun, and it's almost over. Half mile, I haven't done it yet. Track, I can comment the mile is scary as shit.
It's a long time.
It's a long time, and you see the windsocks, and you pass them, and you see a quarter mile, and you're going 160, and then you see the half mile, and you're going 190 to 205, and then you look up, and there's the mile, and you still got a half mile to go, and the car's doing this, and you're just letting the car go, and you're just like, please don't hurt me,
because it's all unsettled, and it's
you're doing it in every gear change, and you're just waiting, and you're feeding it, and you're driving with the egg underneath the gas pedal, right? Not too much. You're not full throttle. If you're full throttle, your car's slow. Right. You know, you're baby, and you're trying to push it through and trying to get it to where it's at, and the car's all slicked up now, so it's so much better. But it was just basically a stock GT with the Big Boss splitter on it, and it was to go back and look and see what we did. stupid. I mean, I can't believe we got away with what we did, just because it was pushing so much air. But it gives you a long time to think about it. It's different, and
it's almost like everything slows way down.
Way down, and then you think about if you crash. Those cars, if you see in the car crashes, they tumble. And I'm surprised nobody has been super seriously hurt.
That's what we've talked about, some of like how the safety, because you don't have to have SFI 25 nothing out there or any of that stuff, which part of that's because you're not racing against another car or whatever. But man, some of them cars, when they do wreck, they go way out into the field or jump across a taxiway or
and people talk about, well, it tumbles and you walk away, but that's your extremities, your body that's attached.
Starts coming out of the car.
You're coming out, I mean, you do the Daryl Gwynn, right? Your arms do the flop and you drive over yourself. That's the terminal speeds that those things happen, and what happens. I'm surprised nobody's gotten hurt. And I'm not saying anything bad or anything else.
No, but it's just from what you've seen in drag racing to what they're doing in half mile. It's
huge. Somebody said on the 1 mile doesn't take it. It doesn't take any talent to go the standing mile. Just stand on the gas. I know who you are. I know exactly how fast you've been, and you have no idea what you're talking about because it is scary as shit. The car floats. It moves around. It takes finesse to understand. Sure, you can go 160, 170. But you get over that 185, and
it's where it's kind of maintaining, right? Like it's actually
you're trying to accelerate. So the biggest thing for us is we were trying to keep over a G of acceleration. That was our whole plan of attack to try to get there, and we dipped down to 0.7 when we crested right about 190 miles an hour, just because it's pushing. You're pushing aerodynamically. You're just pushing a box car, and or a barn door, and you just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and the car just gets heavy and slow. And then you have to stop in a half mile because that's how this is. So you throw the chute and you stand on the brakes and the car gets on all settled and you think you're going to shit yourself and you're just all over it. And at the very end you take a right and you're like, woohoo, and you get done. But that getting to that end of that terminal speed and getting the car slowed down that quick and trying to gather yourself back up, it takes a lot. It's pretty intense. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I'm sure after it's what we talk about, and like my dad's done the half mile, and I've been in the cars and stuff. I think one of the cars went like 128. So I mean, I've been faster in the quarter or whatever, but just that extra time that you're. And then that's a half, let alone the miles. Man, that's way out there.
When you can think about long enough to change the stations on the radio, and you're
just kind of what's next.
Yeah, you got to think about it, and you're watching. And what's even weirder is when you're going out there, you can watch the windsock move. So you're watching the windsock, and you'll literally, it's crazy because you'll watch the windsock move, and just a couple moments later, you'll feel the car shove.
Wow.
And you'll see
That's
it,
super weird.
And you'll feel it, and you know it's coming, and it's kind of like it, and then it'll move the other direction. The car doesn't move, so there's air turbulence out there that's not affecting you here, and you don't really get it. And if you do it enough times, I think you would probably get used to it. I haven't done it enough times. I just realized that, and I was like, I mean, it's cool, it's addicting. I can see why people do it.
They're kind of liking to go that route.
Oh yeah, and it's gaining popularity, and I think I really do think that it's a pretty good ultimate test of something if it can stand close to wide open throttle, full boost, or full spray, or whatever it is.
Right.
Even NA for that long, because cars are not designed to be wide open for a mile.
Right, and that's kind of what we've talked about. Is we're like, like you can kind of see where the power goes and but it's a different thing. The aerodynamics and everything starts changing. And,
oh yeah, and the attitude of the car, and how much air is going over the car as opposed to under the car, and how are you managing that, and what are you doing to, anything under probably 150 is probably all about the same, I'm assuming. And I only speak that just because I've been 150 and it doesn't seem that fast, and then you get it out there, but it's the momentum that you're carrying, and then you have to stop it, and then you have to to think about it. But the mile stuff is it's intriguing for sure. And not everybody's done it. To say you've gone 200 miles an hour in a mile, I got the T-shirt and the coupon to prove it, and the license.
Yeah, that's so. I guess you've kind of done a little bit of it all as far as straight line stuff. And
I held an ARCA license when I worked for Porsche North America. I held an ARCA license, and we did safety training as well as Porsche ride and drives.
Oh, okay.
But no, I know how to turn right and left too. I just don't do it as much as But I've always wanted to do two things. I've always wanted to do. One was go to Bonneville and campaign a Bonneville car, and I want to run a trophy truck, and I wanted to run a trophy truck since for
Since trophy trucks came out.
For 20 years.
Until you see them running across the Baja.
It's cool as hell, and
Yeah.
that's kind of the migration to this. Not saying that these are trophy trucks by any means, but at the same time, they're a lot closer to a trophy truck than a F-250 is.
Sure. That's what's pretty crazy. Is you look at them, you're like,
Yeah.
I mean, this thing's bigger than a trophy truck.
Oh yeah, the trophy trucks are real low, and they have low center of gravity and stuff. It'll haul your trophy truck.
Yeah.
You know,
pull it, and then you still use
Yeah.
it kind of like a pit vehicle or something to be kind of the total deal, I guess.
Well,
Something
there's
like that would be cool.
there's part of one of our directions of travel for the marketing of this is the UTV segment.
Okay.
A lot of people have UTVs, and
Yep.
they have really nice trucks, and they have $85,000 UTVs.
Yeah, it's crazy
it's
how much they put
absolutely
into
insane. And then they have a decent truck, but this is I tell people, and we have one guy that's actually in Oregon that's ordered a truck that he does UTV stuff, and he's a builder, and he has this huge toy hauler, and he's like, well, tell him everything you want it to, and so he's going to do that, and it's going to be great for his business, because a lot of these, what we've sold, except for one that's going overseas and then a local, it's been corporations to buy them.
Oh.
They've been companies,
Huh.
so it's to use it for for whether for personal use or otherwise. So it's been kind of cool,
right? Yeah, so you meet all sorts of people throughout everything. So like, something we talk about, like the HPL deal.
Yeah.
Like, how's that kind of come about? Or
That's an interesting story, and I can do it in about less than 5 minutes. I struggled. We hurt some parts in our 5.3 bore space motor. We took some pushrod tips off, and we struggled, and I thought we were doing something wrong. So I called Rear Morrison, who built the motor, and I called Grant McCurry, who we bought it from, and they're like, no, you're running out of oil. You don't have enough oil in it. And we're like, we're running the 14 quarts, and we kept struggling with all these problems, and it came back to oil. And we sent the motor to Rear, and he was nice. He's like, you're just either running out of oil or running the wrong oil. What are you running? And I won't say who we were running, but it was a well-known brand, but it wasn't quite what we needed. And we have always been pretty embedded since we started the white and black car with Precision Turbo.
okay, right.
And we have a great working relationship with Roger and with Joe Karavikas, and Harry took on High Performance Lubricants, a private line of HPL lubricants.
Okay.
The biggest thing, the reason being is that turbos, oil is the lifeblood of every engine, but it's even more so with a turbo. So with a turbocharged application, your oil breaks down quicker, it foams faster. There's a bunch of stuff, but oil
Shear
is the
factors
natural,
or something you're talking
with
about?
shear, absolutely, and anti-foam and what makes oil. But it's magnified with a turbocharger, and anybody that doesn't believe that doesn't know turbochargers and doesn't
Just
know
the amount of heat in them.
Yeah. So think about the heat, and what it does is it goes
Right.
through the cartridge of the turbo and what happens.
RPMs and everything. Yeah.
And oil control and foam.
Makes
And
sense.
I talk foam a lot because it relates to turbo stuff. But so I struggled, and I got Roger from Precision Turbo sent me a 5-gallon pail of something that just said 50 weight on it. It was just a sticker. He says, try this. And within 5 runs, I knew we were onto something, because we used to check lash in that motor. Every pass, we'd pull a cover and check lash, and it would always, one or two of them would move around. After the 5th pass, we quit checking lash because it wasn't moving. It was very stable. So at that time, they were just developing the HPL line, and they did not have the packaging. They had the quart packaging, but not the 5-gallon. So I got one of the first 5-gallon pails of HPL 50 weight. And HPL, High Performance Lubricants, has been around for about 10 years. They're a bunch of expatriates from Royal Purple. When Royal Purple was sold to a venture capital group and became less and less of a quality. I'll say it. So with that, they designed an oil that has been a building block, and they've always tried to continually build upon the quality of the oil from base stock to finished product. They build the majority of the pro stock oils, the majority of the pro stock motorcycle. The fastest pro stock motorcycles run their oil.
HPL?
Yeah, run HPL, and there was like 6 different versions of the eight different versions of the HPL for the pro stock bikes, and they ended up going back to version 6. David tells me. So, anyways, we're there. I do it. I happen to have the vehicle, the black Mustang, our standing mile car, at the Precision booth at SEMA, and they go, "Hey, we got somebody for you to meet," and it's David Wood from HPL, High Performance Lubricants, and we start talking not about race oil, but about oil that we use every day and the problems that we have at our shop. A lot of the cars we work on are direct injection, and that is a torture test for standard engine oils, let alone great engine oil. And with what is asked of an engine oil these days, it's tough for it to survive. So he's like, I know what you're dealing with. We got it. Send me some samples. So I sent him some samples of this current oil that we were using, which was the factory-based stuff. And he confirmed everything that we had talked about. And we went about a path to try to fix it and to build an oil that combats the problem at hand as well as fixes some of the problems, the existing problems with sludge and coking and yada yada. So we started that, and we started selling it in bulk, and we were starting it at the shop, and then we started selling the race oil, and now we're basically the largest West Coast distributor of HPL that nobody knows about, which is great because we sell to other shops.
Okay.
We sell to race teams. We sell to commercial applications. The commercial applications for trucking, for hydraulic, for mining, horizontal contracting is huge. Just fracking alone is we're about ready to bust into the fracking industry and change a lot of stuff and give them economies of scale. But that's, there's so much to oil that people have no idea, and I don't claim to be a lubrication specialist. I got people for that, but I do know the stuff works, and it works very, very well. So
HPL has engine oil, transmission fluid too?
We have 5,000 SKUs.
Different. Okay.
So we have 5,000.
So a little bit of everything.
All the way from gun oil to high pressure grease.
Oh wow.
Yeah. They make some of the best gun oil you've ever used. I'll get you some.
That's cool.
So it's a great product, and a lot of people use it. Joe Barry is a great example of somebody who struggled on drag week with an oil, and they were able to formulate an oil for him because he's kind of in a really different weird because the clearances are kind of funky and the heat's crazy and his tranny heat gets nuts, and we brought him some tranny fluid and it tightened stuff up and made it for Willie's grudge race deal.
Yeah.
And it changed a bunch of stuff for him, and shoot, we can add, I'll tell you, but you want to tighten or loosen a converter a couple hundred RPM, we can do that fluid easy.
Yeah.
Then you want so you can crutch some stuff and you can do some really cool stuff with it, but
over and beyond high guard.
Yeah. Yeah. The people run high guard, I totally understand, but not in a $8,000 or $12,000 M&M tranny. You're not going to run high guard. You're going to do it once, get your ass kicked.
Right.
Because you send it back after it's all torched, and they're going to yell at you.
Why'd you put that in there? So
yeah, exactly.
So that's cool. We'll have to look at. I'm going to try some of that in my car and stuff too. So try some of that. You always look for things like that. So is there anything else? Anybody else you want to talk about? Things you're into doing? Anybody have any questions? If you have any questions about the truck or racing or any of the stuff we're talking about, throw it in here. But give Doug. I don't know if you want to follow up with him and some of the Defco trucks. It's Defco Trucks on Facebook, on Instagram,
defcotrucks.com,
and their website.
Yeah, links right to my cell phone. Ask away. If somebody's just interested in any level, and something else that I do is if somebody's interested in the automotive industry and wants to further, I have no problem trying to point you in the direction of some great people that are educators that are not for-profit colleges. A lot of people go to for-profit schools, Wyotech and stuff, and there's a place for everybody.
Right.
But I can't struggle enough. We kind of tipped on it before. The vocational industry is lacking people that want to get their hands dirty, and I will tell you that the biggest drought of talent is today that I've ever seen, and the guys that want to be in this industry and get it do very, very well, and they'll succeed and survive and grow. It's not obviously as glamorous as some stuff,
sure,
but the vocations.
It's a good job as long as you're willing to show up to work and do what you're supposed to do every day.
Yeah, showing up to work and thinking that it's not all about you, just only slightly about you, is a great way to start off. Right.
So what would you have, like any suggestions to people, like if they wanted to work in like Paddock Imports, or like what do you guys look for in mechanics?
What do we look for? I look for, honestly, there's a couple different things I look for. One is somebody to look you in the eye, shake your hand, understand. If they don't know what they're talking about, they'll find out. A basic knowledge base of mechanics, obviously, and understand electronics, because you got to be a mechanic, an electrician, an engineer, heating and air conditioning specialist, and a counselor or therapist to do this. But to be rounded, to be open, to understand that every day is a challenge, and how you just decide to, it's your day, manage it how you want to, and learn from your mistakes and your challenges, and never be scared to take a chance and to grow. And don't buy all the tools you can off the tool truck your first week at a job.
So Scott was asking, HPL distributor on the East Coast?
There are a couple, and Scott actually just text me and I'll get you one. There's a guy actually. There's 3. You can buy them directly from Precision if you want. There's I can't remember his name, but it's his name. His name's Scott too. But I'll get you his name. I can get you his name. I can send it to you in Facebook Messenger or text me. But it's great stuff. It really is, and it's funny because now it's kind of gathering some speed with the Street Outlaw guys. So everybody's like, I'm wearing an HPL shirt, and I've been wearing it for 2 freaking years. And he's like, man, I saw Daddy Dave. Did you get that from Daddy Dave? And I was at the store, and I'm like, no, I actually.
No, mine's actually kind of worn out, and I need. Yeah,
it's got these spots. But Dave's been great, and they're gathering speed because the stuff works, and these guys, just because it's free doesn't make it good. And some of the dudes on that show are still all about the free and the gimme, and some of them are actually about like making their shit live. There might be a car there or 2 that they kept complaining about killing bearings a couple years ago. I was running that RP stuff, just saying, still does. There's something to that, and and people talk about that. I talk about like lifters sticking, or this happens, or great as valve springs. Somebody runs a motor, and you guys have been doing stuff for 20 years, and they're like, one valve spring always dies. There's always a weak one. What kills a valve spring? Heat.
Right.
What's heat? Lack of lubrication. Or what kills a lifter? And it's Tony Stark and I from Montrac, we were talking about Sunday. It was like, you always know that noise. And anybody who's had a stuck lifter, it's like, and Greg's going to laugh when I tell you hear it all of a sudden, it goes, and you anybody who's stuck a lifter,
Pucker, so your cam doesn't
you're like,
need it.
Shit. And it's got a slide hammer. You got a slide hammer. That's all lubrication and oiling. So it's all that stuff. So it's greater than that. So there's a lot to it, and there's a lot, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors to the industry, and people don't understand, and I don't either. But I know a lot of the stuff works. And if you ask a question and I don't have an answer, I can get you the answer from somebody else.
Sure. Well, last year you went out you didn't go to PRI this year, right?
I did not.
You went out last year though, when we were hanging out in the HPL booth and talking to all those guys.
It was funny. We sat and I talked to Dave Comstock forever, and we were just, I'm not trying to big dick or anything, but it was funny because he had oil problems too. And he was having oil problems, oiling problems, and then he went to HPL and like everything magically went away, and he's like, and I'm like, yeah, it is, so it's similar stuff. Yeah.
Sometimes it's the simple things, not all the high-end fancy stuff that you need.
No, and it's, you have an engine oil that literally runs 40 to 80 passes. Yeah, you put a filter on, but you can spend. We shoot our oil.
That's insane.
Yeah, the oil that we run in our shop that our clients have is good to 1,400 horsepower on a 5W30. Yeah, it doesn't take much. It really doesn't. It's pretty easy.
Well, now all the new performance parts and everything else, it makes sense to start. Like they've been around 10 years, isn't like some crazy amount of time.
Oh, as far as them?
Yeah.
Well, they're actually come from about 25 years of knowledge in the lubrication industry.
From
that, and then they have on the payroll they have a guy by the name of Dr. David Rudnick, and Dr. David Rudnick, is the guy that came up with the API ratings, the cookies, the American Petroleum Institute for the federal government. He was the one that they asked for to do. He is the most knowledgeable human being on the planet. No BS. I think he holds 4 doctorates in lubrication. And the guy is...
I guess that's being in your niche, I guess.
Yeah, he's a little difficult to talk to. They don't take him out in public. He's kind of like a Stephen Hawking, but he talks. He doesn't have a speak and spell. But they have him on payroll. And there's all sorts. We had some lubrication questions for a horizontal contractor we've been working with that are very unique. And we gave him that, and he was like, oh, you just do this. And we had some stuff now that the Q-rated fuels are legal, the oxygenated fuels, those are difficult on bearings. They pound on bearings. And we have a mixture for Q. And it's different than the standard oil. Like the alcohol oil is different because, there's a ton of stuff to it.
I know when I've changed my oil out, you can smell the ethanol in it, like crazy.
So to give you a quick idea how to fix that is with HPL, all you do is open up your oil cap and put on your oil heater, and you let it all boil away. You'll boil away in less than 15 minutes. All the water vapor and all the alcohol evaporates right off, and it'll turn back to just straight oil with HPL.
So it like boils everything else out, but not the oil itself.
So what happens to that is most
pretty crazy.
most oils have detergent or bonding agents that hold on to the moisture, to the water molecules. Well, alcohol and water are synonymous, right? So they hold on to each other. So you need to separate that, and it takes heat to separate it. With a drag racing car, we don't run them long enough for them to get temperature for it to evaporate, right? We shut it down. Sprint cars are a great example. They run methanol, and they run, depends upon how many laps they'll run a night, but they were just at the Chili Bowl. Sammy Swindell, who uses HPL, they change the oil at the end of the race before they go home, just so they don't have to travel with it. They race on the same 14 quarts the entire weekend. And it's 5 days of racing.
Right.
That's methanol.
Yeah,
So,
that's what's crazy is you listen to different things of, if you're running it, you should change it after 3 passes, or you should change it after, you know what I mean? It's all the different. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and people talk about adding zinc and doing this, and the bottom line is, if you have to add something to your oil, you're using the wrong oil.
Right, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, it should come in the same can that you use.
Somebody's got to design it for what you're using it for, for sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So.
I didn't see any other questions. I know my comments are kind of being goofy right now, but we might walk around the truck and have them show us some things, because even for me, looking at pictures of it, I didn't realize what all was there, so.
Sure.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, got too much stuff to hang on to here. So here's the truck, guys. It just looks so ridiculous.
So it's to give you an idea, that tire's on the ground, and we're putting wheel tubs in it, but that's at full droop. So
so it's on the lift right here.
It's
the
on
front's
the lift,
not even
right?
touching.
But the wheel's on the ground. That's how much rear travel the rear has. So
yeah, that's crazy.
So that's 17 inches of strap travel. We could have more, but we don't.
Yeah, that's insane.
So the front's strapped at 12. But we do it. You can look in here.
Yeah, you can see right here, guys.
That's a cantilever design, so it's basically a 70 or 0.7 to 1 ratio. So the shock moves 3/4 of an inch, and the rear suspension moves 1 inch for each travel.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. They're different.
So how's the factory suspension? It's just leaf spring, right?
It is a leaf spring. So Atlas builds us a spring specifically for this, and just specifically for this application. We have 2 other applications that they build a little bit different spring for us with a little bit different rate.
Yeah,
you can show them underneath.
It's pretty insane. And got your air horns too, huh?
Yeah, I think well, that's
it's mandatory for a truck this size.
Yes, it's Denver.
It's Denver.
So, but it has the bumpers, and it still incorporate the factory backup monitors.
Okay.
Parking distance control.
Yeah, it'd probably be handy in this thing trying to park it.
It's actually not that bad. It drives like it. This has 360-degree.
Oh,
cameras,
okay.
So you see, but it helps for sure. See the front suspension. I think we've kind of shown it, but it has a 3-inch coil with 12 inches of travel, and with our valving, and then it has a 3-inch triple bypass emulsion tube shock. The rear is a 3.5-inch.
So this is all.
This is all fabricated,
all the
right?
tube here.
So this was fabricated by hand, but in SolidWorks, the production pieces are square tube, or not square tube, but it's an angular tube that's laser cut. So it's a little bit more friendly, and it's a little bit more production based. The arms, you can kind of get a quick look and see the lower radius.
Yep,
arms.
okay.
Those are built in house at Lewis built in California.
Man, those are cool. Are they clear coated?
Yeah, those are clear coated.
Yeah, those things are crazy. Look at the size of the Heim joint on it.
Yeah.
From all the race car stuff to looking at this, it's pretty insane.
It's pretty funny. Everything's overbuilt. If you look at the front suspension, the steering, those are 2.5-inch King dual stabilizers. Wow. The front suspension, we use our own anti-roll bar. Chris designed that. Chris Lewis,
okay.
Yeah, you can see that. See, that's kind of neat, isn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty sweet how it kind of...
Yep, and they're quiet. So Chris Lewis designed all that. And this is our non-strutted Entrust 60. This is the one that was in the truck when it made the jump. As you can tell, it's fine.
Yeah, everything's...
Yeah, and everything's double shear. You can see that the Heim joints are double shear on the top in there. You can see the bracketry that's made for the steering.
Yeah, man, just some of the stuff on the trucks is so beefy.
Yeah, and there's the bumper. We left that. That's a Chicks Dig Stars.
Yeah, it's builds character, right?
Right.
Yeah, this thing is insane.
Yeah, so it's all the same. It's it drives like a truck. These wheels are built for us by Weld. They're the only ones currently that have a 20 by 14 blank, and they build them for our specification. So it's kind of
thing's a monster.
it's pretty neat.
It's a cool truck.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, I think that's it for the day. But we appreciate Doug letting us come in and check everything out and chatting with us today. So we'll see you guys later. Thanks.
Thank you.